Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of The Road to Goderich by Linda McQuaig. This is a book that came out July 15th, 2025 from Dundon Press. It's a historical fiction. I received this book from NetGalley in exchange for a fair review. Happy Canada Day! It just so happens this book released where I could line, the holiday up with that, as this is a very Canadian book about a real town that means a lot to me personally. And yes, I'm wearing my Canada shirt. It's got little maple leaves on it. It's red. It's as festive as I get, really. While a little rough in some aspects, The Road to Goderich is nonetheless an engaging Canadian historical fiction that moves at a great pace. What is it about? A tale of love, deception, and betrayal unfolds against the backdrop of the 1837 rebellion in Upper Canada. In rural Scotland in the 1830s, 15-year-old Calandra is devastated by her father's unexpected death. To save her family from destitution, she reluctantly agrees to marry Norbert Scott, a clergyman from a wealthy Glasgow family. But when her new husband and family turn out to be cruel and disdainful toward her, Calandra's only solace in their cold, cavernous mansion is her close friendship with the household servant Lottie. Calandra faces more personal upheaval when her husband accepts a posting as a clergyman in the remote town of Goderich in Upper Canada. Thankfully, Lottie will accompany them to their new home, and so will her brother Sam, a carpenter whom Calandra mistrusts. After a perilous journey, they are greeted warmly by the townsfolk of Goderich, who are particularly delighted when their new pastor stands up for them in defiance of the hated colonial authorities. But an unintentional lie spins into a web of deceit. As the sparks of rebellion flare, there are growing suspicions about the town's charismatic new clergyman that threaten to destroy the fragile happiness Calandra has unexpectedly found. First of all, to get this out of the way, I live in southern Ontario, and when I was a kid, I went camping every year for a week or two at Point Farms Provincial Park right outside of Goderich. And because it rained every year for at least one day, we would spend a day in the town. And I've also stayed there at Airbnbs, and when my husband and I were flirting quite heavily with the idea of moving somewhere with less hustle and bustle, Goderich was the top of our list. Why? Because it's on the shores of Lake Huron, my happy place, which features beautiful white sand beaches and Huron's tumultuous and sublime weather. Honestly, I am obsessed with Lake Huron. If I don't get to the lake at least once every summer, like at least once, I get really depressed. I still have plans of retiring to the coast of the lake, though probably further north like Port Elgin or Kincardine in like 20 years or something when I'm old. I'm old now. It's okay. Anyway, I love the area, so of course I jumped on a book that featured it. Now, unfortunately, very disappointing to me was there really isn't much about the town itself aside from a few things. It's more a setting to feature the action than a true extrapolation into the area itself. For example, while there is mention of Tiger Dunlop in passing, who's a leading figure in the Canada company who developed the area around Lake Huron, there's actually a trail named after him in Goderich that I've walked many times. He doesn't feature in the story at all, nor does the rebellion of 1837 really. There is talk about it, and there's talk about why people wanted a rebellion. I'm not going to get into the details about what the heck the rebellion is, as I'd be talking here forever, and no one wants to hear that. But we don't actually get to kind of see the rebellion unfold. We kind of see it from a distance. To be clear, this actually isn't a huge deal, given the book is focused on Calandra, who wouldn't have been involved in the action herself anyway. It does show, how regular people were impacted by the politics of the day. Though people that are really into the rebellion, are there people that are really into the 1837 rebellion? I'm sure you guys are out there, might be disappointed in the fact that it's mentioned in the blurb a bunch, but it's not actually a pivotal part of the story. One thing that really disappointed me was we absolutely get no mention of the amazing peninsula overlooking Lake Huron that Goderich is located along, which was a real shame. It's gorgeous. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. How Calandra never visited it is beyond me. There could have been a scene on the beach. It's right there. Calandra herself is a good character. She's too loyal to her family and struggles against the society she's in, which was, made her compelling. The book does a great job showing how and why women, even if they were exposed to stuff like women's rights via books and pamphlets, often could or would not do anything to further it. Calandra, above all else, is an ordinary woman who just wants to live her life with a modicum of self-determination. Fair. She makes a choice at the start of the book that is based on altruism, which haunts her the rest of her days, and that was really frustrating to see, actually. The book also makes her husband Norbert out to be a real loser, which was helpful in driving sympathy for her. Sam, the secondary male character, is interesting because while the book is third person, we don't really get his perspective. This adds to a twist at the end of the story, which I will admit felt like it came out of nowhere because it wasn't really hinted at throughout. As such, it had me confused more than surprised because I was like, does that really track with what we see of his personality? Likewise, something happens at one point that the reader is privy to, but later is revealed to have happened differently than described, which felt a bit shoehorned in and a little bit unnecessary. I was like, but I actually went back to that scene and was like, there's no indication of that happening, really? And then, yeah, anyway, I don't know. It felt a bit kind of forced. I don't know why that was included. Now, the storyline itself does move at a good clip, especially for historical fiction, with an interesting cover-up story that adds tension and a forbidden romance subplot. It does take a while to build, but it's more about how will they make this work versus will it happen. I found it very easy to follow, and I was invested in the characters and how they would make their new life work. I was quite drawn into the story and very much enjoyed reading it. The writing could have used some tightening, though. There's a lot of passive writing and telling and showing and telling and not showing in the novel. Those sentences could have been reworked to be less didactic and more immersive. There's so many she felt this, she felt that. Like, just show me. Don't tell me. That's why that expression in editing exists. This has nothing to do with the book as it stands. Like, I'm not going to drop any stars because of this. But the book is woefully bereft of any mention of the Indigenous peoples of the Huron Tract area. Especially during this time when the federal government was trying to populate Upper Canada with colonists, the Attawandaron and the Anishinaabe people would have been in the area still, and the book does not mention how their lands were stolen or how the building of the roads or farms would have impacted their lifestyle. Of course, this is not a book about Indigenous peoples, but it seems odd to me that they were never mentioned by anyone in the book. According to very quick research I did, no, not ChatGPT, I have integrity, by 1846, less than 10 years after this book is set, Goderich had around 1,200 people. So up until that point, they had to be still trading with the Indigenous bands quite a bit to survive, meaning that there was likely no way Calandra couldn't have at least heard of them. Yet no mention is made of them at all. Quite frankly, writing a historical fiction and not mentioning the Indigenous peoples of the region feels like a missed opportunity to circumvent assumptions about the interaction of colonists and Indigenous peoples at the time. Maybe I'm reading too deep into this, but I just thought it was very, very strange that they weren't mentioned at all, and it's a bit kind of, I found it, I don't know, just strange, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, aside from that, I mean, I didn't really think about that until afterward. The book is an enjoyable social historical fiction that has a few faults, but overall is engaging. It keeps you reading. I flew through it, actually. You know, I really love historical fiction, especially when it deals with kind of the nitty-gritties of people's lives, because I'm less about kind of big conflicts and more about kind of like delving deeper into like the micro aspects of society, and so I thought that aspect was really interesting. Like, it is an interesting book. I really liked it. I just there were just some things about it I think that could have been tightened. So yeah, thank you so much to Nick Alley for the e-arc. I really enjoyed it.